Hello, everyone. I'm Kit Carson, the Earl of Pizza, and I talk to rock stars and heroes, gods, you name it, legends. Tonight I have a gentleman with me that I want the world to know a little bit better.
Well, I haven't been called a gentleman in quite some time, so I'll take that.
I thought we'd bring it back.
Yeah,
Why not? Bring it back.
I'll tell you what, after that jacket you walked in with, I mean...
I was the wedding singer earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell everybody your name.
Everybody wants to sit with Kit. Yeah.
So my name's Paul Menta. I am a cheerleader for Key West, I believe. I think that's my head title. I cheer, and on the side I make a little bit of rum and try to do as much as I can for the community and be a part of it. And eat pizza and be like everybody else, pizza and rum.
You've been here for how many years now?
80, so I got 83.
We were about the same time. I was 85.
Yep.
And I remember meeting you. You were that young kid from Philly.
Yep. That was, everybody keeps saying this thing. Oh my God, those days were the best days. I just heard somebody saying this the other day, and I said, you know what? Right now, somebody 10 years from now is going to be talking about how great this just was.
I made that same comment last night.
I'm like, get over it, man. With this 10 years, it used to be so great here. It's amazing.
It's
here.
great right now.
Yeah, it really is.
It's changing.
But that's part of the world and life. I didn't look like this 35 years ago.
Yes, you did. I love that. Everybody goes, oh man, I don't go down there anymore. It's not like it used to be. Like, you're not like you used to be. Some people refuse to accept the fact that there's still life to live.
No, and there's if anything, I think there's more things to do down here just because of the influence that people have created. Like, you get a little older and go, well, okay, man, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I'm looking for something to do, and all of a sudden there's all these other activities going on. So people are coming down. Look at the people walking around Duval and just hanging out. They love people watching will never ever get old.
You're right. It never quite goes out of style.
And down here, there's something to watch.
There's always something to watch.
There really is.
It is kind of interesting. So you moved here 83, 84.
And I would leave in the summers because there was not a damn thing going on. I'd go back up to Philly, and then I went to culinary school. So I decided to do that. And I was like, went to Europe, did an internship there, came back, and then went to South America with my big chef's hat on, with what I thought was a very big ego, my white coat, thought I was super cool, and the family I was living with had basically chicken for the whole week. And I can tell you by day 7, I couldn't wait to have chicken because this lady was like unbelievable. And one night she made me cook in my chef's jacket.
Yeah.
And she kind of turned her nose up at my stuff, and I got humbled really incredibly bad and got basically smoked by this little Ecuadorian woman who could just rock out some amazing food. And I got rid of the hat and the ego, and that's when I really became a really good cook.
That's when you learned.
My passion came back from my grandmother, who, I grew up in a Sicilian family in Philadelphia, and she's the one that she'd sit in the tiny kitchen and cook for 40 of us on a Sunday and act like it was no big deal.
Right.
Versus I watch these other guys, I've worked, I was partner in Amigos. I started Cuban Coffee Queen. I chef at Sunset Key. I had an uptown diner at one point. I had a cafe at upper end of Duval. All these different things. But it's if you don't
left out the Grand.
Yeah, and the Grand Cafe was. I got to express myself there like there was no tomorrow, and just got to have. Maria was like, "Go for it.
Yeah.
Do whatever you know." And we were packed.
That was a fun menu. That was a fun time.
It was, and you got to be creative, so you enjoyed it. Yeah. And for me, then after all that, I would go to bed because I wanted to get up early and get out on the water. I love, being on the water. So
yeah,
that kind of helped me balance it. I got adrenaline from working on the line in the kitchen. There'd be a grown man crying on the floor tickets everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, because I just kind of got off on the adrenaline. Same as you. I watch what goes on here and everything. And
it's an adrenaline rush.
And you can either deal with it,
right,
or you can't.
Right.
So and if you can, it can be really a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of great people and
tons. Tons. So should we stick with the cooking theme?
Sure.
So bring us up to like the last month. Done with cooking.
Cooking. Look, everybody's. I've been doing a lot of TV. I've been doing a lot of TV.
A lot of TV.
So Moonshiners and a bunch of stuff on Food Network. But the big one was, which I was really proud of, is Gordon Ramsay came down here, called me out, and said, "Dude, I want to cook against you, but I want you to show me, introduce me to the local version." So we gave him the 300-foot view, what me and you have seen our whole lives down here. So we did everything by boat. Even when we traveled by boat. He was losing his mind. I introduced him to the Bahama Village and the cooking style there, and then introduced him to Cuban style cooking and all this food culture that he was like, "You guys have food culture in Key West?" I'm like, "Well, the soup of the day is rum," but I'm like, "You got us," and he just was blown away. And then at the end, it was me against him. And I got a thing I say. I say in my whole entire cooking career, I met 6 good chefs, but I met thousands of amazing cooks. Now I will say I've met 7, because that dude on the fly he's got skills, man.
Yep.
Like he didn't come up with hey, talking about skills.
Look at that. Look at that.
There you go. Hogfish, Bobby Vangelli.
Yeah, there you go.
But he was really amazing to cook against. And just he so happened to not know that a warm water lobster and a cold water lobster are going to get overcooked. Or maybe that I put Old Sour on the table. He thought I was giving people rum, and he didn't know it was in that green bottle.
But he like you say, he's all pro, pivots quickly,
legit.
catches on. Yeah.
Legit,
and there's a big difference.
And here's the thing, like what most people don't know. So he had the entourage with him, had 3 sous chefs.
Right.
They were filleting grunts for probably 3 hours. I came up and just used the rolling pin, cut off the tail, and rolled it out. It came out like a sausage grinder and made the patties. And he was like, "Dude, show me that again." But my sous chef was my 13-year-old niece, who has diabetes since she's 3 months old, celiac. They let her on. He was so good with her, man.
Right.
And his wife was pregnant with her 6th kid.
Yeah.
So he's a big time, like he's a family guy, Yeah. So it was. He's not that guy yet. Look, I get. He just brought the back of the house out front for people and screaming and yelling and and people offered him millions of dollars to do it. So listen, I'd be right there with him. He's born in '66, so am I. He's like, "Me and you, we're exactly alike. Good chefs. We keep ourselves healthy and shape, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Yeah, but I looked at my debit card and it said 60 grand, and I picked yours up and it said 63 million. And he's like, "Don't be like that. It's 67.5 million, brother." And I was like, "You're a dick. You are really still a dick." Really, I'll tell you what, legitimately, he really fell in love with the Keys. He said, "Paul, I never saw it as just what you just showed me."
Right.
He's like, Mallory Square is cool, Southernmost Point, Walk in Duval. He did it all, but he's like, what you guys have here, I haven't seen, before. He's like,
well, it's a side that I don't know that I've ever really talked about it on this show, but there's a lot of reasons we live here. And one of the things that I particularly loved for 20 years was my wife and I would go out every Saturday night to fine dining.
Yep.
Or some dining.
Yep.
And there's 25, 30 restaurants that are on par with a lot of places.
I always say the hardest thing used to be was choosing, well, where do we actually go?
Right.
Because the choices are...
And we've got 60, middle of the road restaurants, and I don't mean middle of the road as in, but just price wise and food wise, just good food, conch fritters, but you're not going to get it with a fancy sauce. You're just going to get conch fritters, and they're delicious. We've got so many food choices.
Bobby Mangelli just jumped by. Hogfish Bar and Grill. But let's remember back when he had PTs.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing fancy about PTs, but the food was consistent, was very awesome. His wings were
and their chimichanga was great too.
Exactly.
I loved it. Well, and on that line, we renovated our house and our kitchen. We didn't have a kitchen for 3 months, and my wife and we had a bowl that said high end, middle of the road, cheap, and we'd draw out of that. And whichever one we would get, then we would go to the other, and we had them all written down. Yep. And we'd just go, well, which one do you want to have? We'd pull out, and it was. And by the end of it, we were sick of it. After 90 days of eating out every day,
that gets a little.
We were so over it, but there are so many great places here.
We do Sunday dinner at my house, and we bring all the family comes over, and I really do enjoy cooking at home. But it's so nice.
Right.
There's specific places just to be able to jump out to down here, and you kind of get to be a tourist, and then just go sit and chill and enjoy and take in, because each place has its own little weird atmosphere. So it's not, people always think it's all about the food, or if it's piled up high. It's about the food, it's about the people that are serving you, the atmosphere you got, the whole little, there's always a different vibe.
Remember Savannah's?
Yep.
Rainy nights, my wife and I would sit under the stairwell, what they called the employee lounge. There was a table there. On rainy nights, we'd pop in there and I'd go, hey, I want the employee lounge. They'd clear it up and we would sit there. And that was my favorite place to eat in that restaurant. But you're right. Sometimes just the spot you eat at, the location in the restaurant makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
I've sat in some places and you're right by the bathroom door and it's like a hallway and you're going, oh man, this is just not right.
We were in Toronto a couple days ago and I wanted to go try something that I don't get down here, so I went and had dim sum.
Oh, yeah.
And the place was packed, and I knew when it was all Asian people in there, I'm like, we're in the right spot, because I don't even understand half of this menu. And the only place to sit was back by where they put the dishes for the dishwasher, and that table was open, and there was a 20-minute wait. I'm like, what about that back there? And they're like, but you'll be sitting by the dishes. I'm like, are you going to feed us?
Right.
And we sat back there, and it even made it better.
Well, so Antonia's, before the fire, there was a big table, a big round table that always, when it rained, it would leak on it. And that was another one. We would go in and on a Friday night, and it would be raining, and I'd say, I'll take that table. They go, well, it leaks. I go, just shove a couple of white tablecloths on that corner, and we'll sit on this side over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you don't mind? I go, hell no, the food's awesome. I'm going to eat here. I want it.
Plus, it's part of that fun thing, and again,
now
it becomes a story.
Yeah.
And that's it.
We've talked about it for years. So we probably did that probably 4 or 5 times, throughout the years. Great places. What's a restaurant that's not here anymore that you miss?
I'd say places like, obviously we just talked about PTs.
Or a cook.
I like Brooklyn Boys.
Brooklyn Boys
was a pretty cool, interesting, eclectic spot.
It was.
You could see a lot going on there.
Yeah, you could.
So it made it entertaining to eat. You know what I miss? Right over here, man. Downtown Deli.
Downtown Deli.
Man, that place.
More people.
That was so good. It was just so simple. Yep. It was all homemade.
Yep.
And there was such a selection.
That lady had it going on.
They really
did.
She had
all the family working there.
Exactly. And that's love.
Yeah.
A lot of times you get that atmosphere, you get a little love going in there. And
it was great. I didn't realize at the time how popular it was until it went away.
Yep.
When it went away, I heard more people complain.
Exactly.
It was great. We all ate there.
Even breakfast at Dennis Pharmacy.
I love that.
Just sit at the counter, have that whole experience.
I'd go have lunch there a lot. They had the wings there, and I would get wings and something else. I forget what it was. Shorty's Diner.
Shorty, but those kind of places, I don't think people understand is, like, as a young man down here at that point, coming from Philly, being connected and getting connected with people, you went to places like that, and it was the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Hey, I need this, or I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Oh, come here, Bubba.
Yeah.
Here, let me introduce you to so and so, and da da da. And you go to you go to Sandy's when it was the original, way back at Sandy's.
Five Brothers.
And all that, and they're like, hey, Bubba, come here.
Yeah.
Meet this guy. He's going to tell you how to get that done. And
Yeah, that's where it was like the golf course for us.
you got food, but
Yeah.
you also got a lot of information.
Got an education.
Now I just go to Conch Baseball. That's where I get it. I can negotiate and figure out what's going on down here just by.
I haven't been to a baseball game in a couple of years.
I tell you, it's one of my favorite things to do. And obviously, look, I wear the Key West Conch Baseball hat everywhere. I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan. When I came down here, somebody switched me out the hat and went, "You can still keep red, but it's Conch Baseball down here, Bubba." So, and I went and saw them in North Carolina last year at the USA State. I mean, I really enjoy it.
I used to go to at least one every season. I go to a football game, a basketball game, and a baseball game.
Yep.
And I did that every year for years. I did that for a long time, and then
pretty amazing
kind
that
of fell off of it.
Small island like this churns out amazing baseball players.
A lot.
And they all get scholarships, and that's a big thing.
A lot.
They get scholarships,
Yeah.
They go to college,
Yeah.
whatever they go on to, baseball turned into something for them that they got to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Well, I felt privileged. I got to see Khalil Green play when he was here.
Oh, nice.
He went on to play with the Padres for a long time.
Yep.
Legitimate second baseman. It was awesome. It's funny how it's such a small town, but it turns out a great baseball team, and there's a lot of great food here.
Yep.
And such a small town, we have a lot of
and
fun
the
with it.
history. Like, so there's never not a story to tell.
Tons.
Really, this place is just one big. When Tom Hambright was still alive, I would go in there for one thing, and I'd fall in a rabbit hole, and he would open up the safe, and we'd go into the back, and 5 hours later I'd come out. But I have so much different stuff, and like people are like, how do you know this? And I'm like,
It was awesome.
Tom, I get lost because.
So let me change directions a little bit.
Sure.
In your cooking career, somewhere in there you pivoted to making rum.
Yep.
When was the first time you made rum?
Well, the first time I made it was when I did my internship in Europe because everybody distills there. So I learned how to make alcohol, but didn't really care. I wanted to wear the big hat and do that thing. You couldn't have told me back then that one day I'd be in the distilling business. So I cooked for quite a long time. As you know, I kiteboard a lot. They offered me to turn pro, and I was teaching. I took a year hiatus from Sunset Key and said they wanted to put me on tour. Went to 23 countries. They paid all my expenses. Hey, you coming back? I'm like, to be honest, I'm making the same money, and they're paying all my expenses. This isn't going to last long. I'm going to ride it out. 29 years later, I'm still doing it. I can't believe it, but I started missing the cooking, and I actually came back and started at the Grand.
Yeah.
And that's where I came back to. But then I just kind of went, man, this is a grind.
Right.
And it's just, I've done it now 30 years. What can I do different in Key West? What has not been done? How do you even go about that? And I remember there was the one bar across the street from here that was brewing beer.
Yep.
It's kind of like, not land, it was like
Sharkback Brewery.
Yeah. So,
Right there.
and I saw it and I went,
Irish Kevin's.
but nobody's ever done alcohol here. Why is that? And I looked into it and I'm like, holy shit, I could be the first one?
Yep.
This is going to be a piece of cake. I went all in. Dude, it was.
How many years did it take you to become legal?
So you had to have a lease or own the building, and then it takes a year, and you have to have your equipment in there before they'll tell you if it meets approval or not. So potentially, they could come in and say, this isn't going to work, you're not going, and I was all in with all my money.
Right.
Had a partner, and he's like, you sure you know what you're doing? And I'm like, actually, no, but the great thing was Key West, and our state rep at the time was Holly. They all rallied around me and said, man, what do you need? And they pushed it, and I got my license.
It was such a novel idea.
So you know when I got my license?
When?
November 13th, a couple days ago. That was
Oh, really?
is my anniversary. I just did a thing.
Wow.
I put a Beastie.
How many years now?
It's 11.
11.
And I put a Beastie Boys album cover out, and it said "Licensed to Distill" and everything. So anybody out there that isn't old enough, and we made the jet engine a bottle.
I like
and
that.
everything, and we sang "Fight for Your Right" in a distillery and celebrated. But it's like, all. And then, but the thing that happened was I got my license, and the government did a shutdown. So they said, we can't let you start to distill until we reopen. So I'm all excited, I'm ready to go, and I sat another 4.5 months. And seriously, I was broke.
Yeah.
I mean, the bank kept me going. I mean, I was, at the time, the Spotswoods owned the building. They kept me going. And then, man, when they said go, when that still ran, and I had a line out the door, my best day ever was making a deposit in the bank.
Oh, absolutely.
And from then on, everybody told me I was an idiot. And there's a lot of people that were, he's going to watch how bad it's going to turn out.
Are you still making all of it here?
I make all of it here, man.
How much do you?
Maybe about like 35,000 bottles a year if we just put it in the bottles.
Yeah.
I mean, all by hand. We label everything. But
Right.
listen, I got 2 people working for me that are probably now the 5th or 6th generation conchs.
Right.
One kid just took over as manager of the distillery, and he's making a living. Our goal is you buy a house here.
Yeah.
I want you to make enough money that you
Right.
can buy a house here, and he's on the road to it. And we keep bringing more and more people in because I don't need machines. I'd rather have people working.
That's huge.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
And I can do it at midnight. I can do it at 6 a.m. I can have a life, I won't be divorced, me and my wife get to do things, and she's a big part of it. So it's really cool, and then you got all this community that supports you, and you see everybody, and and the funny thing is, like, I'm not a big drinker, but I really enjoy what I do, and I love tasting. Like, I just pulled something today together because I had a guy do these molds from the 1750s and did all this glass blowing for me, and I'm doing a series, so I said, I got to have something really special. And I finished it today, and I'm trying it, and I'm like, and we're all like geeking out, going over it and everything, and I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. This is fun, but I'll do it all, but some of the money's going to go to charity, so that balances it for me.
Yeah.
I
hear you.
It just gives me that. It's satisfying.
Right.
I mean, you're not making pizza for however many centuries that you've been doing this because you don't like pizza.
Right.
You know what I mean? And,
right.
You keep that.
And somewhere in there's a give back, too.
Exactly.
If nothing else, just having 9 people fully employed.
Exactly. And living and getting to still live here.
Right. And most of them have only this job.
Yeah.
Not 3.
Exactly.
It's like, well,
exactly.
That's rewarding.
Yeah, for us, all of our staff, when all these different things come up, hurricanes, COVID, whatever, they get paid.
Right.
We consider it an investment in the business that pays dividends, and they'll go to the end of the earth for us.
Yeah, it really pays off more than people understand.
Yep.
But it's there again. We don't just love the product we do. We love the business of employing people and having them doing something that they
stay here and survive.
Right.
I want to see these next generations stay down here.
Absolutely.
I'm not a conch. I call myself a Key Wester.
Well, that's.
But I want to see these generations of conch continue on.
Losing.
Yeah, and that scares the shit out of me, man.
Me too, because that's really the only thing we're losing. We're losing the people that were born here, generational people.
Yep.
Whenever, I'm a newbie. My grandkids were born here, but another couple of generations.
Exactly.
If they stay here.
But and we want to bring the people, so we won't even see them come back.
Right.
So as we recreate ourselves once again, think about how many times this place has been recreated. There was a point that they were going to move everybody to Tampa, and they were shutting down Key West.
The
it was
cigar
bankrupt.
industry's gone.
Yeah, but we've gone like this.
I'll move to Tarpon Springs. It's gone.
But we're back to that thing again. So now now we need these locals, these conchs to come back.
We do.
And help us reorganize and bring it back to what it was.
Yep.
Change is okay.
Right.
We live off of tourism. Come on.
Right.
Anybody that sits there and tells me, like, we got too many tourists and everything, I said, well, you got too much money.
Yeah,
I wish I had your,
yeah.
And you don't realize that our job, me and you, when people come down here, we can make or break their vacation. So if we make it a good experience for them, they might have saved for years to come down here, and we have the potential to either make it great or make it bad.
There's a couple that came in today, so I'm going to do a shout out to Glenn and Candy from Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
And they saw my show the second time they came down here once. The second time they came down, they saw my show. They had seen my show. And they came in and I was introducing them to people that were on the show.
Oh, nice.
And they were just mesmerized and blown away with it. I think they've been here 7 or 8 times since then. I've been doing the show for 2 years. They've been here 7 times in 2 years.
No,
they fell in love with it. But we're ambassadors.
Exactly.
You said you're a cheerleader. That's all we do.
Every time I go out to do something.
I'm not wearing a Natosha coin right now, but usually I have one on.
But when I'm somewhere else, they're like, hey, can you talk about your rum? Because you haven't said a thing about it. And I'm like, well, but just come to Key West. Because I know if they come here, we all get, and listen, it's such a network here.
Yeah.
Oh, I want pizza. Go see Kip.
Yeah,
I want this. Go see this guy. Go see that guy. We all network like
Absolutely.
Sloppy Joe's, Rick's, Mark's been a big supporter of mine. Fred Bushy, who's like gold, man. I mean, that guy is amazing and stuff. And they send people to you.
Sure.
So you don't have to advertise.
We're a small island and we do depend on each other.
Yep, big time.
And it's amazing. You really see it during a hurricane, but you see it all the time. It's not just a hurricane when we all pull together.
I'll give you a quickie. It's funny you just said that. So tomorrow night, full moon,
Yeah.
I'm previewing, because I'm not allowed to say premiering, because
Okay.
we're going to a lot of very large film festivals in 2025. They did a documentary on me called The Salt Cure Light. So for locals only tomorrow night, we're doing it at Williams Hall. Mike Stack's going to do a little set for 20 minutes of music. So we got local. He actually has music's in there. But it's about food, drink, and the power of community. And our tagline is, treat every day in your community like it's
Absolutely.
a hurricane.
Absolutely.
And we're going to spread that message and that word to everybody out there and go, listen, if we can do it, you can do it anywhere you're at.
Absolutely.
Just say hello to people, just
That's exactly how it works.
embrace,
That's exactly how it works. All right, so before Bobby tries to jump in here, I got a couple things I wanted to ask you about. You did the Jimmy Buffett. I'm losing it. What was it called? The second line.
That was me, myself, Jill, and Sean.
And what is it called?
It's called. It was when I did it. It was called It's 5 o'clock in Key West, because I'm like, it's not somewhere. It's in Key West.
So
then there were some technicalities that I had to deal with, and I changed it to Just a Few Friends.
Right, just a few friends. There we go.
And each year, I mean, we had, like this year again, we had 7,000 people on Labor Day weekend.
Right.
But the cool thing was, people came to me and said, hey man, I paid my rent, thank you. And that's what in itself.
That's the festivals. That's why we have to have these things.
Yep.
That's why we have to have heads and beds. I don't care what it is.
But I just felt we owed it, like, to celebrate what
do.
And people say, well, Jimmy Buffett made Key West, and I said, no, you're wrong. Key West has always been great. He lived it. He sang about it.
Yep.
And maybe he sang to a couple billion people and introduced them to Key West.
Well, you said Key West keeps reinventing itself.
Yep.
And he was one of the ones, Ernest Hemingway, Tennessee Williams, Jimmy Buffett.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of these young musicians that are kind of used to turn their nose up about having to play Jimmy Buffett songs, I would say to them, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do to put Key West on the map? You've got to do something, because he's not going to live forever, not realizing he was going to.
Yeah, and we caught a little bit of flack in the beginning. People were saying, well, you're not having cover bands. I said, I'm having Will Kimbrough headline. And I said, I'm having local musicians they're local musicians that'll play one of their songs or two of their songs, and then they'll play two of their favorite Jimmy Buffett songs, because when Jimmy was down here, if you don't think he'd be playing his originals, and somebody'd be like, hey dude, Free Bird, hey, you know Bob Marley stirred up? He did. So we
absolutely.
Embraced and we propped up local musicians.
Absolutely.
So it made it really different.
Well, that's what it's all about.
And for me, it was really the first year. It was a personal thing. everybody wanted. We didn't know how to say thank you. Right. And the way we say thank you here is we have a parade.
Yeah.
And we celebrate
so this was technically the second year.
Yeah. So. And I lied like hell the first year. How many people are going to be in the parade, Paul? Because I did it within 30 hours. Ought to be about 400 or 500 people.
Yeah.
And then like 6,000 people showed up.
Absolutely.
But the city, the police chief, Sean Brandenburg was like, "Hey, I got you, man.
Yeah.
We'll all help you."
Yeah.
And all I had to...
Well, we do owe that debt of gratitude to Jimmy Buffett, because Margaritaville, while he may not have been the only one that came up with the whole concept, it's in our lexicon now. It's a part of a definition of Margaritaville.
Yeah, I mean, he showed people everywhere else that there was something very unique going on in this island, and he wrote songs about it.
Yep. Yes,
and
he did.
How can you? People know things about Key West. They know every damn word to every song.
Yeah, they do.
Where do you get that from?
Not very many places, but he was special, one of a kind. So I'm going to pivot one more time.
Yep.
What do you have going on this week?
This week, like I said, we're premiering the
premiere of that.
I just got back from Toronto. We're talking about a series with a pretty big company. There will be a 10-show series. Next week, I'm going. Believe it or not, I'm going to Washington D.C. or I'm going to go to Virginia to Washington's estate.
Okay.
They recreated a 1750 distillery.
Right.
I'm going to be shoveling coal, making rye whiskey.
That's going to be awesome.
And then I'm going to make a rum 6 months later that Key West will be involved in the 250th anniversary of the United States.
That's nice.
And then in between that, I'll do some work, and maybe I'll get some kiteboarding in and go out wing foiling, and and just have a good time, man.
Well, I'm honored that you came to sit on my little sound.
I've been sitting like, hey man, I show up and keep showing up for pizza going, where the frick's he at, man? Why aren't I on this damn show?
Usually on Thursday night, and we try, but I want you to be back.
No, for sure. I mean,
we haven't even talked about kiteboarding and your years of that, and we've got 100 things we can still need to talk about.
There's. I mean, we got. I'm just glad that you're helping keep the history and keeping these stories alive, because somebody's going to be watching this 20, 30 years from now and be going,
I hope so.
Wow.
I hope
look at
so.
that. Wow.
Yeah.
Look, those were the good days.
Right.
And then we'll tell, and they're going to hear us saying, you're in the good days right now. Keep your eyes open, because this could all be over for us tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So let's enjoy it, man.
Absolutely. Well, one last question before I have to get Bobby up here, because he's going to dive in if we don't let him. He is. So my last question to you is, if you were a pizza, what kind of pizza would you be? This is going to be
a Paul Peroni.
Paul Peroni. Well,
Paul Peroni.
Probably has something to do with rum. I don't know.
Yeah, because you'd bite into me and all of a sudden you get a buzz.
Yeah, there you go. I'm high all over again.
Yeah, there you
Who
go.
knows? A Paul Peroni pizza. Well, there you have it. Well, on behalf of my guests, TV Tim and my crew here, I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so.
Do it, man. Click the damn button.
Just press a button. Just
Forget
make us
Gordon
happy.
Ramsay.
Yeah.
It's him. It's him. Kit.
Add me in there. Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure, man.
That was wonderful. Good night, everybody. Yes. Thank you, sir.